What's going on, guys? UFC Vegas 43 recap. The picks go good, but the fights don't go good. Everyone's happy. If the picks go bad, but the fights are entertaining, I'm the first guy to sit here and say, oh, well, at least we were entertained by the fights. On to the next one. If the picks are bad and the fights are bad, it's a bad night all around. That's kind of what we got here. This was a kind of a junk card going in. A couple spots that looked okay. A couple fights that looked like they would be entertaining. But overall, it was kind of like last week. They're just really low-level cards. And the problem with hitting on a big pay-per-view or hitting on something with a little more substance is you know the fighters. You know what they're going to give you. You know the ring IQ. You know the game plan. You know the experience level. On these lower-level cards, I mean, shit, it might as well be a Contender Series card. And as you see on the Contender Series, there's a lot of volatility both ways. So, yeah, not the results we were looking for. But what can you do about it? Some of them are flat out bad reads, couple bad bounces, but we'll talk about it. If you were able to survive this thing and come out alive, yeah, good on you, good on you. The key was just to keep it super simple, I think. Like, simplicity was probably best, but, you know, that's not the business we're in. We make full card selections. We make full card parlays, and as far as parlay goes, I knew it was a landmine. I was hoping not to step on one, and stepped on multiple. Starting off with Luana Pinheiro versus Sam Hughes. First fight of the card, you got Pinheiro as a 4-1 favorite. I think we all knew that she was overvalued. I think we all knew that she wasn't really a 4-1 favorite, but I think we all knew that she should win the fight, right? Thing is, thought she'd win the fight on the basis of her superior grappling. Again, you saw what she did to Ronda Marcos, all bite for 4 minutes until she may have quit, may have gotten illegally upkicked in the face. Who knows? It's just like that judo. She's strong. She gets a hold of you. She gets hip to hip, and you're going for a ride. Top control is not great, but the ability to consistently take the fight to the ground would be super big, super important, because Sam Hughes just can't wrestle. I mean, Loma Luke Bume, who we'll talk about later, scored 5 takedowns on her, took her down at will, out-grappled her, and that's an undersized Thai fighter. So Sam Hughes has clear grappling issues, but she's tough. She's game. She's going to stay in the pocket. She's going to come forward. You know, if this fight stays standing, she's going to have a chance. But the ground game discrepancy would just be too big. And that's what the first round looked like. Pinheiro went out there. The striking was kind of 50-50. I thought Hughes looked way more composed, did a better job of controlling the octagon, if that counts for anything. But she wasn't actually landing. Pinheiro, meanwhile, was just moving way too much, bouncing side to side, like kind of looked a little bit nervous. But the takedown was money. First one was just so effortless. Boom. I don't know, it was a horagashi. I don't know the exact judo term, but beautiful hip toss. Tosses her to the ground. Gets on top, but then you see she doesn't really have much of a ground game. Like Sam Hughes immediately regarded. Sam Hughes immediately created space, and she got back up. Second toss, okay, money, same thing. Looked pretty easy. This is going to be a clear path to victory for us. And just like that, Pinheiro wins the first round. Second round, I'm thinking just go right back to the judo, and she kind of did, but she never really committed. She instead thought, you know, I'm just going to stand up with Sam Hughes and chuck bombs, but she was missing the majority of them, and she was not cleanly, but she was getting outstruck, certainly on the volume in that second round. I didn't think she looked all that good. She attempted to to clinch up a couple times, wasn't successful. Striking, didn't look overly confident, and I'm thinking this is going to be a 1-1 going into the third, and then boom. She kind of rocked Sam Hughes with a decent left hook. Hughes took a step back, and then she just bomb rushed her with like a flurry of punches. Right hand connects clean. Hughes drops down, pops back up right away, clinches up. That's the end of the round. But come on, that's the round right there. Wasn't like Hughes was dominating. She was just landing slightly better shots. She was using that low kick, and I'll admit it looked like Pinheiro's leg was kind of getting chewed up, but knocked down in the second seals it. And then the third round, it's like, who cares what happens, because Sam Hughes ain't going to finish this thing, right? It doesn't look like she's going to knock out or submit Pinheiro. So Pinheiro's just got to survive. And the third round is actually competitive. You could score for Hughes. You could score for Pinheiro. It's not like anything really happened. I scored it for Pinheiro. I just thought she landed the better shots once again. But in terms of a 4-1 favorite, in terms of someone who comes in, she's now 10-1. She's now in a little run in the UFC, I guess, where she's 2-0 and has been coming in of a considerable favorite. She don't look good, man. She's Fade City waiting to happen. Cardio didn't look all that good. First round, you saw her go use the judo. Second and third round, why did she abandon it? Because she was just tired. She knew if I consistently go and try to grab a hold of this girl and toss her to the ground, she's just going to pop back up. So what do? Toss her back to the ground. It's just going to exert way too much energy. So cardio didn't look good to me. The judo looked okay, but if you're not going to go to it consistently and you don't have the ground game to hold them down, it is a waste of energy. Her striking looks super robotic. She did chuck the overhand right, and it looks like she does have some legitimate power for this division, but you got to tie it all together. So maybe it's something she's going to be able to do down the road. But Pinero's very limited. And again, if they gave her someone even slightly better than Sam Hughes, this might have been a Hughes fight, because you could score the third round for Hughes, and the second round was a Hughes round until she got dropped late in it. So in a different universe, that knockdown doesn't occur. She may have actually won this fight. Never know. Not a great look for Pinero. Meanwhile, for Sam Hughes, she's 0-2 in the UFC. She stepped up on short notice for this one, I believe. But you're not an elite level striker. Like, Pinero had very limited level striking and did more than fine in those exchanges with you. And we know she doesn't have the takedown defense or the grappling still. So could she make these drastic improvements that's going to make her elite in any one dimension? No. Could they give her an easier matchup than what she's been facing? Yeah, surely they could. You know, Tecia Torres is a top contender, and Luana Pinero at the very least is on her way up. But Sam Hughes is very, very, very limited. We got Shayalan Wolverine Nerdenbiake versus Sean Soriano. Always going to struggle with that name, of course. Wolverine versus Sean Soriano. Fuck, man. So this one's obviously on me because I knew it. Paul knew it. We discussed it on the show. Sean Soriano got a shitty ground game. It wasn't the shitty ground game that cost him. It was the shitty cardio that cost him. Like, first round, Sean Soriano, he's good in a lot of fights, so you shouldn't be surprised that in this fight he looked real good. You know, he dropped Wolverine with a stiff jab. He stuffed the initial takedown attempt, briefly got popped down to the ground, but immediately hits a sweep, immediately gets on top, immediately gets back up. He's winning the striking exchanges. He rocks him pretty good. This is an easy Sean Soriano round, but you can even tell right around the 4-minute mark that Sean Soriano... it's crazy. It's crazy. If you want to rewatch the fight, and mind you, none of these fights are really worth rewatching, but if you were to rewatch this fight, you see in the first round, Sean Soriano is super composed. And like, he'll land a combination and he sits back and you can just see he's like, he's just resetting. In his head, he knows he's got a problem with screwing up. Once the going gets rough, he makes a bunch of mistakes. So the early going, he's super composed, okay? That second round, you see how he comes out at that second round. He's right in his face, comes right at him, ray hot. Not taking his time anymore, not staying composed, knows he's getting tired. And now that he knows he's getting tired, he's thinking, I need to put this guy away. So he gets in his face and he chucks some bombs. Unfortunately, he's getting tired. And so he's landing the better striking, right? He's winning the striking exchanges. He stuffs the initial takedown from Wolverine. Then what happens is he's so fucking tired, he decides, I'm going to take this guy down. Double underhooks, tosses him to the ground with an outside trip, and now he's on top. So the optics look good. Shit, Sean Soriano just scored a takedown. But this is a massive red flag off the hop. He's a striker. He's got cardio issues. And now he's forcing a takedown on his opponent. Why? Because he's tired. And he's so tired, he immediately gives a sweep up. So now you got Shayalan on top, and that's the end of the round, right? He just grinds it from. Well, you actually had briefly Soriano re-swept, but he was so tired that as soon as he got back on top, homie throws up an arm triangle from his back, and it just causes Sean Soriano to lift his hips too high. Here's my sweep, back on top, blows the round. And now it was minus 150 Soriano going into the third. And it was like, how is he possibly the favorite going into this third round? You've seen it. He's got no more gas. He's too tired. So I think they were probably thinking, well, if he keeps the fight standing, he'll win the striking exchanges. That may have been true, but Shayalan didn't look tired at all. He looked real good. He was sitting on his stool. He looked super composed. He got up and immediately bum rushes him, takes him down with a beautiful like belly to back suplex. Really nice work out of him, and then just, took his back. And Soriano's got a problem with giving up his back and getting rear naked choked. I'll give him one thing. He did not get rear naked choked, but yeah, once he gave up his back, that was the end of it, because he's had that problem throughout the entirety of his career that it's easy to take his back. And once you do take it, he don't know how to get out of that position. So as much as he's at Sanford MMA and he's working with Gilbert Burns, he's working with Jason Jackson, he's working with some of the better guys in the sport. Yeah, man, it's just not getting better for him. And we knew that. Of course, I'm going to chalk this one a bad move on my part, but it was also a bad bounce. Won the first round, dropped him in the first round, looking clean. Second round, he's on his way to winning this round. And then he shot the takedown. The striker whose entire game plan, entire camp was revolved around sprawl and brawl. Stop the takedown, keep the fight standing. You're a better striker than this guy. Entire game plan. Shoots the takedown, gets swept. Bum shit. Bum shit, what can you do? I'm the one that picked him, so it's bum shit on my part. Cody Durden versus Arichi Lang. This is some bum shit too. It was a terrible fight, but I thought Orichi Lang won. So first round, Cody Durden's got the wrestling advantage, and we knew that he would be the better wrestler. Like, I don't think that I would thought he was necessarily going to be the better wrestler going in. I just knew that he was going to be the best wrestler that Orichi Lang had previously fought. So, you know, the path to victory could be there with the takedown attempt. But first round, he comes out. I'm definitely with the takedown attempts. The problem is that there's nothing to me behind the takedown attempts. Like, Durden's pressing him up against the cage, but he's not landing any strikes. And then he briefly gets the takedown. But again, to what effect? You get the guy down for 5 seconds, and then he's back up to a knee, and then he's back up to his feet. There was no strikes landed. Very little clinch work. It wasn't like he was getting any type of position. There was no like a dominating effect. I will give him the benefit of the doubt, though. He largely controlled the first 3 minutes. It's when they would separate. I thought Orichi Lang landed some nice shots, and now with 45 seconds left in the round, he creates space, he gets off, and he landed all the best shots of the round. In fact, it looked like Cody Durden was tired at the end of the first round. Ate some shots. To me, I scored the first round in Orichi Lang. Unfortunately, I don't think all that many other people did, or at least not the people that mattered did, because it seemed like the holding on to him against the cage and not doing anything was more significant. So now you go on to the second round, and it's much of the same. Durden can't get his takedown, so now he's getting chewed up. He's a junkyard dog, though. I'll give him that. Like, I kind of shit on the guy from here to there. I'm not super big on Cody Durden, but he was tired, and he was still chucking bombs. But Orichi Lang was landing the better work. He was pressing him. He was rocking him here and there. I just thought this is a clear Orichi Lang second round. This thing is 1-1 going into the third. And Durden's corner is even kind of telling him, like, hey, man, if the takedown's there, go for the takedown. But, you know, you gotta hit this guy. When you exit the clinch on him, like, that's when you got to go to work. Like, I thought encouraging him that he might likely need a finish. I believed he would likely need to finish. And then the third round, it was just a hump job again, man. He just shot the takedown. If he got it, great. It would be for 2 seconds. Orichi Lang would get back up, and then he would hold him up against the cage. He did a good job of controlling the round. And so, yes, absolutely. He controlled the wrestling. He controlled the I don't know, I wouldn't even consider it a grind, to be honest with you, but he did a good job in those aspects. But the fist fight was won by Orichi Lang, who was, I don't know, it was a close competitive fight, and I ain't screaming robbery whatsoever. I'm just saying I slightly edged it for Orichi Lang. The judges didn't agree, and so that's just what it is. You need to accept it. So Cody Durden gets the victory. How much does that improve him? I don't know. On one hand, he proved he could go 3 rounds. That's important. He looked dead dog tired at the end of the second, and yet he came out for the third and did what he had to do. If I was a Durden backer in this spot, I'd be very happy with what he did in that third, because he wasn't going to win swinging at distance. So he fought a very smart game plan. He went 3 rounds. His wrestling didn't look great to me. His striking didn't look great to me. So is he an elite level fighter? Certainly not. But this is a good win, and he needed that win. For Orichi Lang, tough setback, but he'll be back, man. He's an all-action fighter. He's had 2 fights in the UFC. He's lost both of them, but the Molina fight was definitely a scrap, and this one wasn't the most entertaining, but not his fault, because when he was having his way, it was a fun fight. He was moving forward. He was getting hit, but he was certainly delivering some damage back. But the most of the tail of the fight, I guess, was him getting pressed up against the cage and giving up brief takedowns, and unfortunately that was just too much to overcome. So I don't really think his stock drops a whole lot. Limited, sure, but he's an all-action guy, and at 28 years old, he could get a little bit better. He could improve. Durden, meanwhile, I guess the last thing is he goes on the microphone afterwards and says, you know, he's going to send him back to China, which some people perceive as being racist, and some people perceived as, well, the guy's from China. So, well, if he was Canadian, he said send him back to Canada. Would people have the same outrage? Regardless of your view on that, my view on it is he barely squeaked by this guy, and he's talking all kinds of shit on the microphone. That I don't appreciate. Like, was it you did send him back where? He's standing right there, dog. Did you knock him out? No. Did you submit him? No. He's fucking right there. So where are you sending him back? You want to talk a little shit, you want to talk a little game, go out and make a statement performance. This shit, not a statement performance. Bad fight. Say bad fight. It had its moments. It had its moments. Just not like such a dominating performance that you're going to go and, you know, talk shit to the guy. Like, come on, have a little respect. Who knows? Lupita Gomez versus Loma Lukabume. Flat out bad read. Flat out bad read. No excuses here. Again, let's play high insight. High insight. Lukabume is a former 105-pound fighter. She's undersized at 115. She can get away with it against lower-level opponents, but it's going to be a problem going forward. She's just a little too small. And Thai fighters, man. That Thai fighters can't wrestle. Not their fault. There's no wrestling program over there. So they're really behind the 8 ball in terms of getting to that level. Now, I did admit that she was with the Hickman brothers, Frank and George. They're both good wrestlers from the U.S. Spent time at Tiger Muay Thai. Now she's over in Las Vegas. Clearly, they're working on the wrestling. But again, you're behind the 8 ball. So there's only so much you can do, first of all. And second of all, you are still undersized. So Lupita Godinez, hindsight, she just fought at 125. You know what I mean? She's coming down to 115, where she's big for the weight class. You see that she does have some wrestling chops. I really wasn't sold on her wrestling IQ, at the very least, against Luana Carolina, but that's at 125. This is at 115. She was bigger. She had the grappling advantage, and all she needed to do was put it to effect, and that's what she did. Rinse and repeat all night long. There's an argument for Loma Lukubume in the first round. Again, it depends what your judging criteria is. Do you go for the wrestling and the grappling, or do you go for the significant strikes landed? So there's an argument on both sides, but then that's where it ends, right? Godinez after that just dominated, you know. Loma kept fighting. Loma kept trying to improve her position, but this is Godinez. Godinez would go for submissions and give up position. She was just so comfortable that she could get it back wherever she wanted. So, yeah, clear victory for Lupita Godinez, and I'm having a really hard time now betting her, right? I bet her in her first 3 fights. We went 1 and 2. I bet against her for the first time here, and we lost. So I'm 1 and 3 in Lupita Godinez bets all around. And when I think she's got the wrestling advantage and she's going to use it, shit don't work out. And when I think, okay, then, you know, the opponent's got a shot, she goes out and she puts on an excellent performance, apparently. So if you were betting somebody, that was about as comfortable as it could get for you, right? Rafa Garcia versus Nathan Levy. This is a scrap. This is a good fight. It had a lot of wrestling in it as well. Like, in what world does Rafa Garcia go out and score like 7 or 8 takedowns? Pretty crazy. But yeah, these guys were fighting for it. It's just Nathan Levy coming from that karate background. His striking looked okay. It was competitive. I mean, both guys landed a lot of shots. They both showed good chins. They were both tired, but they just kept fighting through. Just the difference maker was when Garcia wanted to get the fight to the ground, he would. Nathan Levy got a couple takedowns of his own, but again, it was just Garcia being the better grappler. He'd get back up. Cub Swanson's been on record a few times being like, Garcia's results in the UFC aren't really showing how good this guy is, but in the gym, you know, the guy's an animal. One of the strongest guys I've ever worked with, right? I think you did kind of see that a little bit in this fight. He made a ton of mistakes, but his strength got him out of a ton of problems. So this is another close and competitive fight, but I definitely thought Rafa Garcia just eventually broke him. Like, you saw even late in the fight when he would get the takedowns. Like, Levy would never accept position, and then later in the fight, it was just like, oh, man, like, even if I do get back up, he's just going to rip me back to the ground. So solid stuff, but in terms of, was this an elite level mixed martial arts contest? Like, no. Levy looked extremely limited. Rafa Garcia looked extremely limited. If they weren't fighting each other and they were fighting guys above that, like if Garcia wasn't getting easy money takedowns, would he have won? Like, no, probably not. Flip side to that with Nathan Levy, I don't really know what he brought to the table. His striking was okay. His takedown defense wasn't there. His own offensive wrestling was all right, but he had no top control beyond that. It was just a very limited fight, but good stuff from Rafa Garcia. And at this point, I'd love to say, oh yeah, we were rolling on. Rafa Garcia got us that money. But it's like, yeah, I mean, it's just such a spotty event. And get owned again in the very next spot. Pat Sabatini versus Tucker Lutz. This is another flat out bad read. So when I can make it like Richie Lang versus Cody Durden, I don't feel too bad about a fight like that. Because it's like, you know what, I had my moments. The Sean Soriano fight, you know what? Another universe, he doesn't shoot that stupid takedown, or he doesn't immediately get reversed as soon as he hits the ground. He could have won that fight. The Lupita Godinez, that's a bad read. This Pat Sabatini Tucker Lutz fight, this is a bad read. I thought Tucker Lutz's defensive wrestling would be enough to sprawl and brawl, keep the fight standing, and then he'd have the striking advantage. Pat Sabatini, meanwhile, he's not that he's a bad striker, but you saw him get rocked pretty good against Jamal Emmers, and you've seen some other fights. He prefers to get the fight to the ground, where he's an awesome grappler. And in this case, yeah, man, he got the fight to the ground, and then as soon as he did, he was the superior grappler. He dominated him. He put him in all types of bad positions, but beyond that, just had full control the entire time. I'll give Tucker Lutz one thing. I mean, he fought off the rear naked choke. There was a couple deep spots. He fought off the submissions to the best of his ability, but he had a strong inability to keep the fight standing. And that was his demise, right? So it's a bad read on my part because I knew he came from a bit of a wrestling background, but you know, I overvalued his takedown defense, and I probably undervalued Pat Sabatini's own offensive wrestling a little bit. So this was easy money Pat Sabatini. If you were on him, this was not a sweat. He completely dominated Tucker Lutz, and I thought Lutz would, present some problems. So What can you say? It's bad time. Football fans, who's ready to score some free bets? Now you can when you bet on any NFL game this week with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers who bet just $1 on either team to score can win $100 in free bets. When a team scores, you score. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their very first deposit. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code DOP. Bet $1 on either team to score and win $100 in free bets. If they score, you score with the promo code DOP this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older, New Jersey, Indiana, and Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum of $5 deposit and a $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So now we start the main card, and I'm extremely invested in Adrian Yanez. On a card that I don't like a ton of these spots, Yanez is a spot that we do like. Yanez is a spot that we got to roll with. Should make it look easy, right? And it's not that Davey Grant is a walkover opponent. It's just, I think Adrian Yanez is the real deal. He's got such a slick striking style. Seems to have good cardio. Seems to be, gathering some good experience. But experience is what it comes back to. He hasn't really fought that many good guys overall, especially not in the UFC. He's fought a couple of decent, better guys in the regional scene, to be honest, than he's fought in the UFC. So, maybe not. Randy Costa looks decent, I guess. But even in that fight, he gets beat up pretty good in the first round. He comes back. He's got perseverance. He's got a good chin. He's got good cardio. He's got good striking. I'm sold on this guy. Davey Grant's got the experience. He's the tough guy. He's going to come out. He's going to try to brawl. But technique and skill is going to win outright. But this is a greasy fight, man. Mind you, not the first round, which is the 30-27 Grant. It became extremely puzzling. But in the first round, Yanez rocked his shit, man. God damn. Beautiful combination. Finished with the right hand. Davey Grant was definitely wobbly. He would come forward, but it was definitely a clean strike from Adrian Yanez, who dictated the majority of the first round. 1-0 Yanez. I think he's like a 9-1 favorite going into the second round. I think that's what they said on the broadcast. I never saw the line myself personally, but this is a bad night so far. I'm on Yanez. I'm not chasing. I just need the Yanez to get the victory. It's all I need. It's all I care about. I don't care about the live line, but he wins the first round. Second round is where Davey Grant starts to work his way back into this thing, no doubt about it. Again, I would say the first 3 minutes were controlled by Yanez. I thought he did the better work, but at some point, Davey Grant just thought to himself, you know what? I took his best shot in the first round, and it hurt, but he hasn't hit me with a nice one like that since. He seems to be slowing down a little bit. And going back to why we like Yanez and we compare him to a Jorge Masvidal, he's got that slick striking, but defensively sound, but lazy. And I think that's what Grant figured out. You know what? The way he holds his hands, the way he jab, like it's a flick jab. He's like, I'm just going to uncork bombs on this guy as counters. And if he throws, I'm just going to counter with a bomb. If he doesn't throw, I'm just going to come forward with a bomb. And shit, it looks decent to the judges, to be honest with you. Cleaner work in the second round done by Yanez, but Grant's coming on strong, man. And if you want to make an argument that Grant won the round in the later 90 seconds by just swinging them bombs, yeah, I suppose there is an argument there. Personally, scored it for Yanez. I got him up 2-0, but Grant's coming on. And then the third round, yeah, Grant just kept coming, man. He was using the same game plan. He was being aggressive. He was getting in his face. He was swinging. I thought that if Grant was going to win this fight, it would be on the basis of wrestle a little bit. Yanez struggled on the regional scene with his takedown defense, and Grant's an okay grappler. It wasn't the takedowns. It's once he made this a dirty, ugly brawl, that's where Yanez's finesse striking game start to fall apart a little bit. So Grant wins the third round. This is going to be a close decision as far as I'm concerned. I got it 2 rounds to Adrian Yanez, but again, second and third round were competitive. First round seemed pretty clear. And I don't know, the kid's super emotional. He's lost his coach. He dedicated this fight to him. It was obviously a very emotional fight, and it wasn't an easy fight whatsoever. I'm glad he got the decision. I agreed with the decision. But this is my best play on the entire card, right? This is the one guy, and I looked at was like, Adrian Yanez is going to win this fight. And this wasn't easy, man. This was a greaser, right? So on a card where I had a lot of bad reads, couple bad bounces, a lot of bad reads, Yeah, I mean, even my best guy struggled, right? Ronnie Yaya versus Mr. Perfect Kyung Ho Kang. This is bum shit. This is bum shit ring IQ on full display once again. Ronnie Yaya, Ronnie Yaya wins fight. This happens to me all the time. You've probably never met anybody who's lost more money on Ronnie Yaya than this guy right here because he's not good. Okay, he's not good. He's like Claudio Silva. He's a master on the ground, but has a very strong inability to get fights to the ground. Cardio's not very good. Striking is not very good. So unbelievably one-dimensional, and now in his late 30s. What's there to like about this guy? But, if they match him up soft, he finds a way to win because these boneheads play right into his game, and that's exactly what happened to Kang. Kang dominated this fight when it was standing. Kang did an excellent job at sprawling out these shit takedown attempts and then would just put himself in one bad position. Ronnie Yaya would capitalize, take the back out, grapple him, lean on him, grind on him. 1-1 going into the third, let's say. And then Ronnie Yaya does exactly what Ronnie Yaya does. And it was so unbelievably ugly, but it always is. Dude's effective. Dude's effective as shit. I will give him that. Kang, meanwhile, I mean, yeah, call him overrated. Call him not that good. Call him it was a bad style clash. He's got 9 professional losses at this point, so he's someone that's got holes in his game and just doesn't seem to be able to get over the hill and really make marginal improvements. This should have been his fight to win all day. He very easily could have won it. He had tons of spots. He had tons of moments. Unfortunately, those spots, those moments, they all ended up going Ronnie Yaya's way, and he came out on top. So can't discredit the old man, dude. That was a solid enough victory, but just like so butt ugly. And this is a butt ugly card. So at this point, if you're Dana White, it's like Luana Pinheiro versus Sam Hughes. Like, I'm not giving either of them a bonus. Are you kidding? Fuck out of my office. Shai Lan versus Sean Soriano. Oh, no one's getting a bonus on this one. Are you kidding me? Cody Durden versus Orichi Lang. No one's getting a bonus, but this is your fight of the night to this point, right? Lupita Godinez versus Luke Boume. No. Rafa Garcia versus Nate Levy. Well, no one's getting a performance bonus, but that would be the new fight of the night, I would believe. Pat Sabatini versus Tucker Lutz. Sabatini dominated him. I can see a bonus for just like pure domination. Doesn't usually happen, but nothing else has happened on this card. So I suppose if I'm Dana and I had to, Garcia Levy's fight of the night, and Pat Sabatini is getting a performance bonus for dominating a guy. Yanez Grant, this is your new fight of the night. But Yanez didn't do enough to get a performance bonus, certainly. And Davey Grant lost. He's not getting a performance bonus. But this is a fun scrap. This is a competitive fight both ways. So that's your fight of the night. Yahya versus Kang was god awful. Taylor Santos versus Joanne Calderwood. Boom. There's a bonus for Taylor Santos. She looked awesome. She was one of the bigger favorites on the card. Some people questioned it. I thought it was a little bit overvalued, but again, this is a what do I know situation. I thought go out and grind on Joanne Calderwood, who's got lackluster grappling, and, put that grind on full display. If you stand in front of her, maybe you land your big shots, but she's a credited Muay Thai practitioner, former European champion, trains out of an excellent gym in Extreme Couture, married to John Wood, an excellent coach in the game. Like, she's going to be well prepared for a strictly striking battle, but power, baby, my God. Taylor Santos, crazy that she lost to Morella Barella in her debut because, like, that girl is gone. This girl is nuts. Physically, she's just in phenomenal shape. Very, very muscular. Very, very heavy-handed. And for this division, I mean, to unleash that kind of power is big. Joanne Calderwood, I wouldn't consider her chinny, but the first knockdown was like, that's knocking down anybody. That was a hell of a shot, like right hand. And I don't think Calderwood ever really recovered from that first knockdown because after that, she just kind of looked a little bit stiff, a little bit rigid, and just in a bad spot. Would have been tough for John Wood because you've got to try to coach her through this. And it wasn't like he was giving bad advice. It's just, what advice could you have possibly given her? She got dropped and he immediately just go back up, back up, back up. But back up is getting dropped again. Taylor Santos knocks her down for the second time, takes the back, sinks into a rear naked choke. This is a clean, flawless victory from Taylor Santos, as good as she's ever looked. Give her a performance bonus. This was like one of the good fights on the card, like a savage fight on the card. We watch MMA for entertainment, but also for, you like the chess match, but you like the checkers match once in a while too. It's a little sloppy. It's a little bit herky-jerky, but it's fun. Taylor Santos wasn't sloppy. It wasn't herky-jerky. It was a tight, good performance. She immediately moves into this division because there's nobody. She's the number one contender as far as I'm concerned. Keep in mind that Lauren Murphy and Calderwood, whatever you want to call her, I'm going to call her JoJo Calderwood still. if you consider her versus Laura Murphy was a #1 contender fight, and Murphy won it in a close competitive battle, and then gets the title fight and gets blown out by Valentina, Calderwood goes on record to be like, oh, that was a pathetic performance. You should have gone out on your shield. And, well, you know, to Calderwood's credit, she just went out on her shield. But now, who else is there? Like, the division is extremely thin. Taylor Santos and Andrea Lee, who just won last weekend, I guess they would be your two girls. But you can't pair them off against each other because then one of them is not going to fight for the title. This division needs all the title challenges that they can get. So I would say Taylor Santos looked a lot better than Andrea Lee, let's be real. So toss her in there against Valentina. Too much too soon? Sure. But what else is Valentina going to do? Unless Valentina fights Nunez, and then, yeah, maybe Taylor Santos could take another fight in between. But you just not knocked out. You just dropped Joanne Calderwood twice and submitted her all within the span of the first round. And she's elite at this weight class. Yeah, what more do you need? So I'd like to see her take another fight because she needs a little more experience, and she needs to fight multiple rounds before she's in there again in a 5-round title fight against Valentina. But again, there's nobody to fight. So similar to John Jones is fighting Anthony Smith and OSP. These are world title fights, right? Just because there's nobody in the division. That's what's going to happen to Valentina. So Taylor Santos probably moves into title contention with that one singular win over Joanne Calderwood. Sean Brady versus Michael Chiesa. Again, this was a positive result, but a bad read. This was not the read I was looking at. Sean Brady, I believed, had the striking advantage. He was going to be able to soundly outstrike Michael Chiesa if this was a stand-up battle. Michael Chiesa, again, he's not a striker. He's definitely long. He had the size advantage in this fight. Size and, like, you know, height, but muscularness, like muscularity, I don't know what you'd call it. Probably just made up 2 words there. Sean Brady, jacked, man. This guy's absolutely jacked up. Like, he was a big boy, but you could see that Chiesa was much longer. So if he was a good striker, he could have given Sean Brady problems, but he's not a good striker. There's no power behind the technique. It's mostly just like he floats it out there and tries to get the takedown. Brady's case, he's got the striking advantage. I think he's got the wrestling advantage. I wouldn't say he has the grappling advantage, but certainly if he ends up on top, he's going to be okay. If he ends up on bottom, we're going to have a problem, but just stuff the takedowns, beat this guy standing. And that wasn't the case. Sean Brady won this fight on the basis of him taking Michael Chiesa down and now grappling him. He grappled him for the first round, pretty clean. He grappled him for the second round, pretty clean. In the third round, now at least he can prove my point a little bit. Go out there and strike with Michael Chiesa. Chiesa just simply came at him. Had a lot of success. He was landing on Sean Brady. Brady looked tired. This is just into the third round. He's gassed out already at this point. Chiesa's not going anywhere. The guy fought Neil Magny for 25 minutes. He's got in time, sometimes he's got a terrible gas tank, but sometimes he's got a good one. This seems like one of those nights that he had a good one because his corner told him to empty the tank, and he went out there to empty it, had lots left over. He's winning the striking exchanges, but again, Brady relies on his takedown. So the takedown puts him in an advantageous position, but you saw with like 10 seconds left, all of a sudden, well, I mean, once Chiesa got on top, if there was like 20, 30 seconds left in that fight, I think Chiesa probably TKOs him. This was a 5-round fight. I think Chiesa could have had his moments. Brady was on fumes. I know he faced some adversity in training camp and he had an infection in his foot and this and that, but listen, this is a co-main event. This is a professional prize fight. You got to come into the best of your abilities. He looked unbelievably jacked to me. So no reason to believe that he wasn't, you know, a lesser version of himself. But man, Chiesa put him in some bad spots there. The third round was definitely a Chiesa round. Unfortunately, it was just definitely too little too late. 20, 30 seconds more, I think Chiesa probably TKOs him. If this is at a 4th or a 5th round, who knows? But he was running on fumes. And so, solid victory. And Sean Brady's one of our guys. We always bet Sean Brady. We're happy with the result on a card that we're getting fucking creamed on. Nice to get this one. The main card hasn't been terrible when you consider Yanez, Taylor Santos, and Sean Brady all got the win. Okay, we'll take it. But again, this is another spot. If I'm gonna give Cody Durden shit, I gotta give my boy Sean Brady a little bit of shit. Like, wasn't exactly a great performance, man. And then he's all on the best grappler in this division. What's up? Best grappler in the division. This division consists of Kamaru Usman, consists of Colby Covington. It consists of Khamzat Chimaev. It consists of Gilbert Burns. It consists of Vicente Luque. Like, you're the best grappler in this division, dog? Okay. You got to have confidence in yourself. You got to have that self-belief. He has that self-belief. But after this performance, and he's like, people were saying Chiesa is one of the better grapplers, and you saw what I did to him. It's like, dog, do you not remember that third round? Do you not remember the last 20 seconds of this fight where he was smashing your head in? Like, I love Sean Brady, my guy. Hopefully he only gets better and better from here on out. And yeah, hopefully they do a card in Pennsylvania or New Jersey like he was suggesting. Put him on another main card, another co-main event slot, but give him a 5-round fight. And he was calling for it. He wants a top 5 guy. He wants a top 10 guy. He wants a 5-round fight. Give it to him. But give him a tough one. You know, he wants it. He's calling for it. Give him Chimaev, right? Nobody wants to fight Chimaev, apparently. Let him fight him. He's saying he's the best grappler in his division, right? Right. So fight Chimaev. This is the fight you want. You want a 5-round fight. I'll tell you what, Chimaev's not going to be in any 3-round fights anymore. Like, he's got such big popularity right now. They're only going to book him in 5-round, probably main event slots, unless it's on a pay-per-view and a non-title affair. If this is what Brady wants, right? But when you compare a high-level victory versus what Sean Brady just put on, the first 2 rounds he looked good. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying you want to fight 5-round fights against the best guys in the division. I need to see a little bit more, I think. Maybe I'm being way too harsh on the guy. I was happy he got the win. Unfortunately, it was all rendered moot in the main event. Miesha Tate versus Ketlin Vieira. Where I could have saved myself is I was really high on the over 3.5, and I wanted to take just the fight goes the distance, but I pushed out, took the over 3.5, which was not very good line. And then I wanted to create the hedge out opportunity, which I did. We had Yanez and Tate on the top ticket, but because everything else blew up, because Sean Soriano lost, that second ticket was dead, there was no more meat on the bone. I had to let it ride. If Miesha Tate wins and I hit that plus 160 top ticket, I break even. The props, they broke even. This could break me even here, whatever. It's a wash night. If I lose, yeah, I lost. It's a losing night. You don't like it, but there was nothing to hedge out at this point. I just had to roll with Miesha Tate, which I didn't love, but yeah, I thought that she would get the victory, and that's why I selected her to win overall. This is a terrible fight. Well, not a terrible fight. It wasn't a terrible fight. It was an okay fight. Just not a whole lot happened. The rounds are very close. They're very competitive. But if you want to just mention power, it was Ketlin Vieira's side. The first round, I thought Tate won the first round on a personal level. I thought that she landed the better strike. She kind of snapped Ketlin Vieira's head back a few times. And then, yes, right at the end of the first round, Ketlin Vieira botched a shitty takedown attempt. Miesha Tate sprawled her on it, and it's all optics. This is a round that was close, okay? Nothing really happened. Miesha Tate slightly edged her on the striking numbers. Miesha Tate did land the cleaner, more effective shots, and then she sprawls out this takedown and lands a couple ground and pound shots at the 10-second clapper. That's the Miesha Tate round, right? Not pretty, but it was. And then beyond that, the second round I thought was Vieira. Nothing much happened. She's just landing the better shots. The third round I thought was Vieira. Nothing much happened. I thought she landed better shots. Fourth round, you make an argument for Tate again here. She came on pretty good. She had the leg kicks. She was landing some effective striking. It's just she could land, and she did a few times, her best right hand over the top. And Ketlin Vieira was like not shook in the slightest bit. Ketlin Vieira would just return fire immediately, and some of even the glancing blows seemed to really get Tate's attention and hurt her. So my worst case scenario is this is 3-1 Ketlin Vieira going into the fifth, but I think it could be 2-2. I could think of this thing could be 2-2. And then the fifth round, it's all Ketlin Vieira. And not all Ketlin Vieira, like, that's her best round. She really beat her up. And, well, she did really beat her up because of the damage. But that was the story of the round, was the damage. The shots just seem they had the bigger impact. Miesha Tate's nose, I think, got broken. When the nose got broken, she likely attempted to blow it, as is a natural habit, right? And when you blow your broken nose, it causes the swelling on the eye. And then just it seemed like her nose got crooked. Her eyes started to swell. Her face immediately started showing bruising. There was splattered blood. This is definitely a fifth round for Ketlin Vieira. This is definitely a fight for Ketlin Vieira. She won the fight, worst case scenario, on a 48-47, which is how I would have scored it, right? And I think one judge gave it a 4-1, which, again, is reasonable. I wouldn't really argue that it wasn't 4-1 Ketlin Vieira, but you could consider this 2-2 going to the fifth, and Vieira did what she needed to do. Unfortunately, I think both girls were looking for a statement, right? Both girls. Miesha Tate certainly wants another title fight. She's been very vocal about that, talking about she wants aspirations for one more run at the championship gold, one more shot at Amanda Nunes, this and that. So her losing here really does knock her off the pedestal. I believe she's 35, 36 years old. This is not a good performance. And when you consider that she had a lot of trouble versus a strong, big, physical Brazilian opponent who had more firepower. Yeah, I'm describing Ketlin Vieira. I'm not even describing Amanda Nunes. Like, with this, how do you think this would have gone against Amanda Nunes? It wouldn't have. So, unfortunately, I think those dreams and aspirations just got put on ice. And Ketlin Vieira, meanwhile, she was 1-2 in her last 3 coming into this one. She had an ugly loss to Yana Kunitskaya, and she got knocked out by Irene Aldana, and then had barely just squeaked by Miesha Tate, and not a great fight. So I don't know how much stock goes up, but I'll give her one thing. She is big, strong. My God, physically, this girl is in immaculate shape, and I really didn't think she'd be able to fight 5 rounds. But Didi Pederneiras gave her excellent advice. Andre Pederneiras, her corner man, when he would just be like, at the end of the first, he's like, why are you shooting a takedown? Box, box, box. And I couldn't figure it out at the time. I was like, why does he want her to strictly box? But it was like he knew the grappling is going to tire you out. But if you just stand here, nothing really is going to happen. You got the bigger firepower. Whenever she steps in, if you go 1 for 1, and this was a lot of this fight. If you watched it, there was a ton of moments where Tate would rock Vieira, not rock her, but like rock her head back, great shot, and immediately get rocked right back. Like it was a 1 for 1 fight. Only Miesha's guns were not as big as Vieira's, and that was the determining factor. So we got banged up on this card. Luana Pinheiro, is 1-0. Sean Soriano lost, 1-1. Cody Durden got the win, so we're 1-2. Godinez won, we're 1-3. Rafa Garcia won, 2-3. Pat Sabatini won, so we're 2-4. Yanez got us 3-4. Ronnie Yaya made us 3-5. Taylor Santos 4-5. Brady 5-5. And then unfortunately, instead of going above 500, we go below 500 with a lackluster main event. So honestly, the card wasn't really all that good top to bottom. The bets certainly were not all that good. I guess I could have done more, but really it was just a greasy offering from the get-go. So simplicity was the key. Unfortunately, my betting style, as you guys know, is just full fight cards, man. That's what we go for. We go for every pick. I don't want people being like, well, who do you got in this boat? Because you left them off. It's like, they're all there for you. Fortunately, this was not the right combination. So next week, there is no card. And then we're back on after that. And I think there's a run of like 3 more cards before the end of the year. And I think I need that. I think I need the 1 week vacation from the UFC. I haven't even checked if there's Bellator or BKFC or anything else. If there is, I'm likely going to do a video for that and bet it. But I think I just need the week off from the UFC just to clear my stuff, do a little something different this week. And then put my boots on and cap off this year in good fashion. This is a career year. I'm not having a bad year. Don't feel sorry for me. It's just I get that there's a lot of people that expect you to just get it right all the time. They don't care that you hit a big ticket and you get the next week or 2 wrong. It's all about you went 5-6 on this card. Well, maybe you could have just bet 3 fights on this card and gone 3-0. Does that make you look good? Yeah, it does. Good night. You went 3-0. I don't just put the 1 fight. I put them all. So unfortunately, you're going to have to overstretch yourself and get some bad. I shouldn't have been this bad, though. I pride myself on usually getting more winners than losers, even on a bad night, even on a night where the top ticket guy loses and you lose money. That overall, I pride myself that you're going to get more winners than you do get losers at the end of it. And this was not the case. So I don't feel like I had to apologize to anybody, but it's not a good feeling when someone tells me that I lost the money. How could that make any human being feel good, right? So not like I'm sour about it or anything like that, but I want positive results for you guys because I know a lot of people either have a family or have a tight financial situation or need a good bounce, and they rely on me to give them picks. I would say rely on me to cross-examine your own homework and what do you like? What do I like? Do we pair up on anything? But if you do blindly tail me and you lost money and you feel bad about it, then, I feel bad for you too. But there's just nothing I can do, man. All I can say is hopefully the next time we get the better results. But yeah, is what it is. Like I wish this recap was a much more positive one, but the fights were shit, man. They were terrible fights, and the betting result was certainly not there for us this week. So we'll take next week off. We'll recoup. We'll get back at it, and hopefully jump right back on the pony. So catch you guys next time. Till then, take it easy. Ow, ow, ow.